All right, what's up, everyone? We're back with another Sports Talk with Duey podcast. We haven't been back in a while. A lot has happened in Pitt basketball and Pitt football, so we're excited to tackle, unfortunately, a four-game losing streak that really no one saw coming. Pitt football, man, Narduzzi's been cooking in the portal, so I'd love to talk about that as well. But let's start about the season that's, in pretty important basketball happening right now. Conference play has started. Unfortunately, Pitt is on a four-game losing streak. I think we've dropped to like eighth in place in the ACC. I think we're 3-4 in conference. It's just been a pretty bad start. I thought Pitt hoops would cruise through ACC play. It was probably the weakest power conference right now. So yeah, we lost 76-47. We got destroyed by Cooper Flag and Duke. Louisville is a very close game. We lost by 4 in the closing seconds. The Zoo got destroyed that game, deservingly so. They weren't very good. Then we lost a really ugly game against Florida State where there was a fight after the game because Malik Ewan had a late dunk. Then this weekend, I thought we played probably the best game out of the four, and we lost in overtime. Heartbreaking. So as of now, we're 33rd in the net. No bracketologies have really came out this week, but I would probably say we're going to be like a 10 or 11 seed now, and Lenardi already has us in the last four in, which is pretty traumatic to Pitt fans. So I guess we'll go with the Fish and then Tone. Do you see any correlation in these four losses? Like, what are you seeing? What's happening?
I feel like there isn't really one specific thing that I'm seeing that's gone wrong in all four losses. It's just general sloppy play. And in each game, it's just something different. A lot of these games, our offense has just been completely stagnant. Throughout Capel's tenure, the past whatever 7 or 8 years, we've relied a lot on like ISO play from our star players, like Blake when he was at his best, all those guys on the 22-23 team, Justin Champagny when he was here. Like we relied on our star players to make plays, and there weren't really many offensive sets being run, not a lot of movement off the ball. And we're going back to that type of play now. And it's just really frustrating to see because these players, there's no plays being run whatsoever. You're just standing around and Jalen Lowe and Ish Leggett make some kind of play. It's like, and then when they're off, which they have been in recent games, that's not going to bode well. So the reality is that's what's kind of come down to the struggle here. Some individual games, like the Louisville game, rebounding was just terrible. But then I noticed the last couple games, the players have made a lot more of a concerted effort to box out and get possession of those rebounds. But at the same time, the offense just hasn't been there. We've scored a handful of points in most games except for the Duke game. That was not good, but like we play good defense the Duke game. That's the thing. It's every game it's something different, right? Something different goes wrong. The defense was pretty bad against Florida State and Louisville. Rebounding was bad against Louisville. Offense was bad against Clemson for stretches. It's just nothing like you can point to a few things anecdotally that go right or improve from game to game, but the reality is there's something different every game, and our star players aren't stepping up like they have in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% agreeing with that. I think like with Louisville, the main problem was the offensive rebounding, or in our case, the defensive rebounding. It was like what 17-4 offensive rebounds in favor of Louisville, and of course, when the game is on the line, it's like 80-78. You have to get a rebound. You don't do it. They hit a shot and put the game out of reach. 82-78. Clemson, the problem was in the first half, the offense just could not make shots. And that was the problem with the Duke game as well. In the last 8 minutes, there were 0 points scored in the last 8 minutes, and that's why we lost by 29. Would we have won that game if we scored points? Probably not, but we at least would have been closer. It would have looked better than losing by 29, which does not look good at all. I don't care that you're playing in Cameron Indoor Stadium. If you want to be a tournament team, you cannot lose by 30. So we've done that twice already. That's just it's unacceptable. I mean, if you want to lose by 10 in Cameron, fine. Like that's completely acceptable because one of the toughest places to play in all of America. But yeah, you can't lose by 30, and I think it really exposed a lot of the problems that showed up in Louisville, like the offensive rebounding. The offense did not play bad against Louisville. Like it was honestly pretty good. They made shots to stay in the game. Unfortunately, they made all the shots and they got the offensive rebounds, and that was the difference. But I don't know. Yeah, it really is like it just seems to be a different thing every game. There's players that show up like Jorge did against Florida State, but yeah, there's more problems than there are solutions in every game, and that's why we've lost four in a row.
Yeah, you guys have brought up amazing points. Like I agree. yeah, every game you look at and there's something else. Like the Duke game, everything went wrong. I'm not gonna say like, I mean,
It was
yeah,
a
I mean
miracle we
Louisville,
were even still in that game near the end, like within
yeah,
minutes.
They missed so many shots in the first half. Like we stayed in it.
yeah, we're only down by like around double digits at halftime. Yeah, there's no shame in losing. Even Auburn lost there this year, who's probably the best team in the country. But yeah, you just can't lose by 30 points. The Louisville game, yeah, it was just the defensive rebounding was terrible, and we just didn't close out. Louisville's an analytical team. They're gonna launch a lot of threes and try to get crash the glass. And I don't know, I just didn't see any like in-game adjustments. Like we just kept letting Smith shoot and shoot and shoot. Like in that game, like where is the adjustment to when we didn't close out and their shooters are all. But yeah, I just don't like where was the adjustment in that game to face guard him and stop him. That's yeah. And then FSU, it was an ugly game. I thought these last two games we've rebounded much better, but in the FSU game it was an ugly game and we just shot the ball terrible. In Clemson, we shot the ball terrible again. And in these last three games, I would say the reason why we are losing is because we have not made the plays in the crucial moments. Last game against Clemson, they made all the big plays. Chase Hunter made the big shots in that game. Last game specifically, Clemson won because they made the big plays in the big moments. So did Louisville. FSU, I thought they had controlled the whole game. So I think the problem is we're not shooting the ball well. I mean, every game we're shooting terribly. So that's for me the two big things. I think the rebounding's been okay the last two games, but the thing we have to do is we got to shoot the ball better, and we'll talk about that next question, what we have to do to fix that. And we just have to make the big plays. Like at Clemson, Louisville, they made the big shots, especially Chase Hunter last game. So we need to be able to get the big rebounds. We got to make the big shots, and we got to defend. I thought we played really well, good defense on Hunter. Like we didn't really give him anything easy. That guy's just a stud point guard. So unfortunately, the other teams have made the big plays. That's why we were losing, in my opinion. So yeah, what do you guys want? We have the next three games are pretty big. I mean, we have a rivalry game against Cuse. They've been terrible this year, but those games are always gonna be close. And then we have two games that are quad one. Well, home against UNC is probably not quad one. That's a big one. Every time we play UNC, and then we go to Wake's really coming on. So what needs to happen for this team to turn it around these next three games or so?
Yeah. So I guess there's a couple things. The main thing for me is the star players need to take better charge of the game. I mean, the reality is, like, in a perfect world, I would say, oh, we need to run better offensive sets and get open guys the ball and like actually move without the ball, set off ball screens, do run stuff like that. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Like, I think that's too big of an ask based on what I've seen the last couple of years. Like, that's something that Coach Capel just has never really done as coach. Is we haven't seen those offensive sets that I'd like to see. So the reality is Jalen Lowe and Ish Leggett need to take more charge of the game and just be better. And it's a really tough ask in my opinion because I think recently, like obviously Jalen has not been playing very well. It's way too many turnovers. He needs to clean that up for sure. But I don't think there's a whole lot more that they can do other than what they're doing for the team. But at the same time, if we're not going to run any structured offense and just going to, oh, Papa Conte is going to run up and set a ball screen for Jalen Lowe and he's going to have to make something happen, they're going to have to make that thing happen. You know what I mean? Like that's where we've come to at this point. And then the other thing is going back to the Florida State game. I was saying from the very start, like I did not like Malik Ewan. He was getting in the face of everyone on our team, shoving people around, really physical. I was annoyed by him right from the start. And he's the type of guy that I would expect to do something like dunk the ball when the game is over, just to rub it in. But at the same time, you look at a guy like that and you say, that's why they won the game. He was more physical. He wanted it more, right? Like that's what we have to do. Big guys down low, Cam Corin, Guillermo, Papa Conte. I think Papa Conte has been great on defense. He shows really well on those screens, moves around a lot. At the same time, all of those guys in the post just need to be more physical. They need to be stronger. They need to want it more. Those are the two things that I want to see.
Yeah, I mean, so I went and looked up, I think in terms of our offense, I really think it starts with the scheme. I mean, guys just aren't moving with the ball. Jalen's going to dribble it around for 25 seconds. But if that's the offense, then yeah, he's going to commit turnovers because people are going to know, okay, he's just dribbling around with the ball. We're not doing anything to set up any other guys on the offense. And as a result, yeah, he's going to turn it over. And I think just maybe this team isn't a 3-point shooting team. I mean, looking at the stats here, Jalen Lowe is 28% from three. That, like, for a guard, that's not good at all. And if you, like, he has some of the best driving game in, I think, all of college basketball. Like, some of his drives to the basket are incredible. But maybe that's the identity that we need to lean on now. Like, shooting 2 points, getting in the paint. We have to be more physical. Um, I think Cam Corhin has been better in recent games with the rebounding as compared to like the Louisville game. But is the question is the identity of this team really the 3-point shot? Ish Leggett, he's also been 33% from three, which leaves a little bit to be desired. Oh, I don't know. Does this team want to shift away more from the 3-point shot and more towards the 2-point shot or driving to the basket, getting in the paint? Because if we're not going to shoot the three ball well, then that might be the solution going forward. But yet again, that just relies on being physical down low, which has been an issue at times this season. So I think it just comes down to the scheme and being able to get guys open and create looks that is not dribbling the ball around for 25 seconds and chucking up a shot. So I think it starts with the scheme, but those are the questions that need to be addressed for me is do we want to try to create the 3-point shot and continue to do that, or do we want to focus on being more physical down low, where Jalen Lowe has been successful and also Ish Leggett?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's all about the sets, the scheme, the plays. Unfortunately, if you can't shoot the 3-pointer in this age of basketball, you're not winning, so we still have to focus on that. And I just think it's all about we need to run our sets. Like, I've talked to people who are around the program more than I, and we have sets. We're just not running them. So Ish and J-Lo, they're great players. I believe in them. We are just not. We're just not using them correctly. I mean, I just think when we bring the ball down, we can't be dribbling and waiting around. Everyone's saying, right, we need to get into our action right away, set off ball screens, get cuts to the basket. We need to set way more screens than we are. And yeah, the fish is right. We have never done this before, but if we want to save this season, we're going to have to. Like last year, we moved the ball amazing to end the season. One of my favorite sayings is the ball movement. The ball has energy. You have to move it, and that's what we're going to need. We can't be You just can't dribble too much. If you watch the old, the Golden State Warriors, those guys didn't dribble at all. They were just moving, running around like crazy. I hate to compare, but that's how you win in basketball. So maybe if it is, getting Jalen off the ball a little bit, setting off-ball screens, moving around, I think when we get that ball up, we got to just pass it. We can't be dribbling like that. And I think if we just get some good off-ball movement, just get the ball moving around, I think it will benefit us 100%. And yeah, I think Jalen's an all-time, I think Jalen's still an NBA player. I just don't think dribbling around, setting one simple screen at the top, and that's our whole offense. We need to run some different types of sets and get creative because our season's on the line right now. We got to try something different because whatever we're doing is obviously not working right now. So I'm 100% with you, Tone. We need to be running a real motion offense. We're just playing way too much ISO ball, and we need to change it up. And we got to get Jalen and Ish better looks because they are getting hounded the last couple games. So, yeah, I agree. And this is pretty crucial right now. We already lost 4 in a row. We have some good teams coming up. We have to stop this now. The last thing I'll say is the best seasons are the ones where you have a lot of adversity and you fix it and you end the season strong. So they have a great opportunity ahead. We've lost 4 in a row, but I think it'll be an amazing story if we could figure this out and finish the season strong and make the tournament again. So we have a great opportunity right now to salvage the season, still get where we want to. So I'm confident. I think every year the coaching staff has had these type of bad stretches, but they've always figured it out. Even the bad seasons, we've had good stretches to end the season. So I still believe in that we'll figure it out, and I think we'll get on the right track for sure. So, yeah, we'll pivot to the Oakland Zoo, man. They've been getting so much backlash. Everyone on Twitter is just absolutely destroying them. The Louisville game was well deserved. Like in the second half, like no one was even like moving or making any noise even when they needed it. The Clemson game I thought they were fantastic. So yeah, what are your guys' opinions on everyone like crapping on the Zoo and what have you seen the last 2 home games?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down to a couple of things. Kind of maybe one sort of overarching point for student sections in general, and maybe this is just isn't the Oakland Zoo, is our generation's attention span is a lot less than maybe like 15 years ago when the zoo was at its peak. You know what I mean? Hopefully, banning TikTok will help that a little bit, but
Well, Jack.
I'm just kidding. What's it called? I mean, the reality is, I don't think people care as much anymore about the basketball team as they used to. Like, especially, I feel as though our team's performance is very much correlated with the performance of the zoo. Like you look back when the zoo was in their heyday, when we like when I grew up to become a Pitt fan, like jumping in my living room, whatever. Those were the best years of Pitt basketball. So of course the zoo was jumping and going crazy, and literally everyone was jumping. But then obviously as the years went on, we get Kevin Stallings. The program basically dies for a couple of years, and of course no one's going to be interested. No one's going to want to show any energy for an 0-18 team. You know what I mean? And that sort of legacy is what's passed on to future years, which has made it a lot more difficult in recent years. And then also, I think COVID probably put a stop for a year on those traditions, which made it harder for them to be passed down. So I think those are kind of the three factors at play, in my opinion. And my personal thoughts as a lifelong Pitt fan: if you're not going to be jumping when you're on defense in the zoo, you should not be in the zoo. That is like the bare minimum, in my opinion. That is like Zoo 101. It should be like to ask the zoo leaders from like 10, 15 years ago, they would tell you the exact same thing, I'm sure. And the fact that 90% of the zoo doesn't even care to do it, and like when there's 4 minutes left in the first half, like basically after the first TV timeout in the first half, everyone stopped jumping who was. It's really frustrating to see. But yeah, I think it's a deeper rooted problem than just like um, people aren't interested. Like, I mean, that's part of it, but it's deeper than that.
Yeah, on my end, yeah, I think like the Louisville game, like it was just not good, not good at all. Dewey and I were there. You could barely hear them at times, like they were not a factor. And it's just the noise is such a huge part of not just the zoo, but the entire atmosphere of the Peterson Event Center. Like to give an example, 2 years ago, that Miami game was my favorite Oakland Zoo moment, like ever. Like just the stadium when we came back and it was like 69-68, like once like that tip shot went in, the noise in the zoo, I'm getting goosebumps right now just
Yeah, I
talking
am
about it.
too.
The noise in the stadium was deafening. Like it was the most electric environment. I think Miami was ranked at that time too. Like
They were, yep.
they were like 20. Yeah, it was just an electric atmosphere. And yeah, like Fish said, I mean, the attention span is just, it's gotten less over time. And how do you fix that? With winning. Like, unfortunately, I think having someone like Dewey to lead the zoo and get the passion and energy of everyone up helps. But the number one factor, unfortunately, is winning. Like, if you're winning and you're a number one seed in the tournament, like Pitt was back in the day, you're going to get people interested. But I think like this team is still a good enough team to make the tournament, so there should be enough interest. And I think it comes down to the Oakland Zoo leaders. This is a call to action for you guys. You gotta communicate more. You gotta get people involved. Um, make it known that the expectation is to be standing at all times and making noise. I don't think that expectation has been communicated very well. As a result, you saw the Louisville game, they weren't even a factor. And if they were, maybe the result, like the game was close enough, the result could have been different.
Yeah, you guys brought up amazing points. Yeah, the Louisville game was extremely embarrassing. You saw like the zoo like pretty quiet in the second half when we really needed to stop. I know for a fact the zoo leaders were trying super hard before the Clemson game, and it did show. I thought it was really loud in there, which I was happy with. And I agree with the Fish. Like, if you're a student, the zoo is so much different than a football game. Like, the football game's a true social event. We don't really have an impact on the game, in my opinion. But the zoo, like, we have a true impact on the game. We could really lift our own team up, and we could really crumble the opposing team. So if you're not committed to making impact in the game, just sit in the upper deck where the other students sit. But yeah, I thought the Clemson game, the energy was great. But yeah, I agree. I definitely think after the 2021 season, my crew did a really good job at least bringing the identity of the zoo back, and you did see some great moments the last 2 years. But we have to. I think it's definitely. I thought me and the Boom definitely brought in a better place than it was for 100%. But we just need it to keep that identity to keep going, and I have 100% confidence. Like me and the Boom have been talking to the new zoo leaders, and they're definitely committed. I just don't understand some of these people. Like I thought the zoo was great at times, but I definitely want to see all 1,000 students like being committed to the games, which we're just not seeing anymore. But I definitely have 100% belief in the new zoo leaders. They're actually doing a great job. Another thing I want to bring up is everyone keeps like messaging me to like unretire, but I mean, I'm not doing that. Like, I need to put the fries in the bag. Like, I need to actually grow up. Like, I'm not coming back. Like, I'm pretty washed. Like, I'm not, even though like I used to be great, but I'm not great anymore. I think our best chance is definitely the current zoo and the younger people. So, and yes, all the W people, I'm not like 30 years old. I'm literally 23 years old. Like, I have a job. I'm pretty good with my life right now. I just love Pitt basketball and what I've done in the zoo. So, yeah, I'm not unretiring. I agree. I think I was kind of a loser going back, but I won the end against WVU. So, yes, I am not unretiring. Our best chance for now and in the future is getting new people involved so we could keep the tradition going. A washed graduate student's not going to do anything. So I am not unretiring. Like, and yeah, that's all I want to say.
Dude, put the fries in the bag at a major accounting firm. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm done. I'm putting the fries in the bag. I know it. Yeah, I know I was really great the last 2 years, but I definitely, I'm so washed from. I actually enjoy just like watching the game now. So, so yeah. You guys have anything else to say before we move on to the Pitt football?
Yeah, just two things. So first of all, yeah, Dewey's retirement had to be WVU. Like that was just so fitting. We crushed them, won by like 22 points. Dewey got in the heads of the WVU fans so much, and yeah, it was just fitting for that to be his retirement game. And the second thing is, yeah, I commented on how I didn't like what the zoo was doing during Louisville, but I have to say on a more positive note, I loved the response at the Clemson game. The zoo was absolutely a factor, kept us in the game, allowed us to storm back and tie it, send it to overtime. Unfortunately, didn't go our way after that, but I really liked what I heard from the zoo on the Clemson game. So, at least from my living room TV. Unfortunately, I wasn't there at the Clemson game, but I could hear the zoo from the TV, and it sounded very good. So, keep up the good work.
Another thing I want to point out is I get a lot of the credit for the zoo, but you two, all of our friends, the Boom, the other zoo leaders, we all did it together. We definitely had a really special core, and I'm just really hoping that there's another future core like us who can keep the zoo going. So, but I'm very happy with what we saw at the Clemson game. The current zoo leaders tried their best, and I think they're going to do really well the rest of the season. So, yeah, all I ask is, man, if you're in the zoo, we have such a great like opportunity than other schools. We have a great student section. We have 1,000 seats. We're right on top of the court. We like, come on, we really have a great impact. So I really want to see all these students buy in what we can do. If you're not going to buy in, go sit in the upper deck or stay at home and do homework. Like, come on, we have a amazing opportunity what we have in the Pete. So come on, let's finish the season strong. The zoo, I have 100. I'm the current zoo leaders are doing the thing. So yeah, I think we've said enough. Let's move on to the Pitt football team and of course, we love Pitt basketball. So, yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. Yes, we started the season 7-0. We ended 7-6. We lost in the old Little Caesars Pizza Bowl. They call it the Game Above Bowl now. It was a very tough end of the season, but there is still high hopes for the Pitt football program. So on Twitter, I posted like my Pitt football outlook. I put down like needs, running back, wide receiver, offensive line, defensive end. Those are some things we had to like really look at in the transfer portal. So I have a couple key returners listed. Of course, Holstein. Of course, Desmond Reed. Sean Fitzsimmons was an elite defensive tackle when he got back from injuries. Yes, back from injury. Kyle Lewis, one of the best linebackers in the country this season's back. Rasheem Biles, really another guy who could have made it as well. Rashad Battle, in my opinion, was the most underrated Panther this season. He was a lockdown corner for us. He's huge. He's back. And then Javon McIntyre, a really good safety. Narduzzi, besides Jordan Addison, we haven't really lost any really key transfers. The four guys I do think hurt that we lost are Sincere Edwards, who I thought was a really good pass rusher for us this season. Jordan Bass, I think our biggest recruit in a couple recruiting classes before. He was really good at, tackling, pass coverage, pass rush. I thought he had a chance to start over Lovelace this season, to be honest. And then we lost two corners. Gandy was one of those classic Pitt corners who was on an island, got burnt a lot, but I thought he had a lot of good potential. And a guy I really liked who had limited snaps but was elite in those limited snaps was Tamarion Crumpley. So we definitely got hurt on our defense in the portal, especially the secondary. So yeah, I'm gonna run through. We have 12 commits. I'm gonna give a little like snippet about all these guys. I'll be talking for a while. So the first guy we got was Andy Gino, receiver from Florida. He doesn't have much experience. But out of high school, he's a top 400 recruit. He was a four-star receiver out of high school. The next guy we got was Blaine Spires, a Utah State pass rusher. He was hurt all last season, but his 2023 season, he was really good. He had 5 sacks. Looking at his like advanced stats, he looks definitely like a pass rushing specialist. Not very good against the run. Deuce Spann is an Illinois and Florida State wide receiver. He was at FSU last year. Not much experience playing receiver. He was an elite kick returner last season. He's very fast, so maybe we could unlock his potential with his speed at receiver. Another guy we got was Oregon pass rusher Jaden Moore. Not much experience. He's graded pretty decent at everything, so we can unlock his potential. This was the most surprising one for me, was this kicker from Murray State, James London. We lost Sauls last year, who was literally the best kicker in the country. James London was the best kicker at the FCS level, probably a top 20 kicker all last season from Murray State, John Morant. London has a huge leg. He's made like a lot of 50-yard field goals last year. And yeah, it's not an exaggeration. This guy was one of the best kickers in the FBS/FCS level last year. So we found our Sauls replacement, which is cool. The next guy is Jaden Bonzu, who's a Ohio State transfer safety. Not much experience, but he was a 4-star, top 300 player at high school. The next guy, really another fascinating one for me, is Kavir Baines from UC Davis. He's a safety. He was elite FCS safety. Amazing in coverage, amazing at tackling. Keith Gouvy, I don't even know how to say his name. Keith Gouvier, he's a Richmond guard. A really good offensive lineman, veteran, amazing in pass protection. Then we got another, and everyone knows our biggest need was offensive lineman. We got the best one, and by far for me, was Kendall Stanley, a Charlotte tackle. He's a really good offensive lineman, amazing in pass protection and good in run blocking. So filled 2 holes there. Another edge rusher from Eastern Michigan, Joey Zielinski. Very good pass rusher, very solid everywhere else. Then another one, so 2 more, sorry. Narduzzi cooked. Rashawn Murray, D2 from Cal U cornerback. He was a D2 All-American. He's a hometown kid from the city. One more, our most recent commit, was Blue Hicks, a receiver from Louisville. Not much experience. He's a total speedster. He's on the Louisville track team. Of course, this is how a lot of programs, a player has their best game of the season against that program. So, okay, we'll take a shot on him. Blue Hicks only had 12 catches last year, but 6 of them was in that Pitt game. So I just rattled off 12 guys. So how would you guys rate our portal so far?
It looks good. I think a lot of these like names and schools on paper are very good. Like Oregon edge rusher, Ohio State safety, wide receivers from 3 different Power Four programs. It looks pretty good. I don't have a ton of complaints. I think wide receiver was kind of an underrated need here, and it's been covered very nicely. Because I think we only have Kenny Johnson coming back. I think Dejon Reynolds also hit the portal, and Kanate's gone, obviously. So I think the fact that we addressed that is very good. I'm still a little bit uneasy about our pass rushing. Last year, we didn't get much productivity out of any of the guys that we got in the portal. Nate Matlack, I just looked, he had 3 sacks. I don't remember a single one of those. It basically was like he had no sacks. He was pretty ineffective. But I mean, we collected that guy from Oregon, Blaine Spires, the guy from Utah State who was pretty good for them a couple years ago. I mean, I think there's a lot to be optimistic about here with this transfer portal haul, but at the same time, I can't really say, oh, we're going to be substantially better, substantially worse than we were last year just based off of this. Because, like, again, it's so hard to grade transfer players until they actually make an impact on your team. So I guess those position groups, which I'm still a little bit uneasy about, defensive end, wide receiver, defensive backfield, the DBs. I'm still uneasy about them, and we'll see what happens. But the fact that this transfer portal haul is so extensive is a good sign.
Yeah, I'm totally with you there, Fish. I think this honestly does look pretty good. Like just kind of looking at it, You addressed wide receiver, which could end up being an issue with Kanata Mumfield leaving. Seems like you addressed that pretty well. Offensive line seems like you also addressed that. I think if I look at it here, I found this website. It says Branson Taylor might get drafted. So there's that. You're gonna replace maybe you're gonna have Kendall Stanley replace him at left tackle, which could be nice. It seems like on offense, pretty solid overall. Getting Des Reed back is huge. On defense, I guess you just kind of have to see how these edge rushers pan out. Seems like it should be okay. Hopefully Narduzzi can develop them. So overall, I think it looks good. Like, I think it does fill a lot of the holes on the team. But like Fish said, you just kind of have to see how it works at Pitt. Like, were these guys good? Like, for example, I just looked up Kavir Baines. Looked awesome at UC Davis, but how's he going to look at a Power 4 score like Pitt? So there's a lot of things that, yeah, we can say it looks good, but we don't really know until they step on the field at Pitt. So, but yeah, I think it looks promising overall, and I think, hopefully they can return to the form of the first half of the season with these new recruits.
Yeah, you guys did a great job. So yeah, mine, like what I said we needed before the season, we've hit really well. Receiver is going to be scary. We have Kenny Johnson, Sincere Lee, and Poppy Williams coming back. And we got 3 guys with a lot of potential, so maybe one of them break out, which would be huge. But I still think we did a great job at receiver. Offensive line, we killed it. I mean, we have Lyndon Cooper, B.J. Williams, and Ryan Baer coming back. Ryan Baer really struggled last season because he's not really a left tackle. So, yeah, I mean, and we let Jacoby's gone and Branson's gone, so that's good. Branson was really good. But yeah, Gouvier, I don't know how to say his name. He should be great in the interior. And Stanley was amazing at Charlotte, so we've filled 2 holes in our offensive line. Both of them are amazing in pass protection, which sounds like great fits for Cade Bell. So yeah, I think our offense, we really did a good job filling holes. And pass rushing, I think we did a great job. Zielinski, Spires are really pretty proven good pass rushers. Jaden Moore, there's not much about him, but he's come from Oregon, so how bad can he be? So yeah, I think we did a good job there. But for me, I definitely think it raises our hopes for next season as well. So does the portal raise your hopes at all for next season?
I would say, like, the fact that we got this many players and are filling specifically the positions that we know we need, it does. Like, I would say probably without this haul and maybe with, like, if we returned most of our starters next year, didn't really have as many portal guys and just sort of went with the recruits that we have coming in, which I don't even know if it's that much, then I would probably say around what we were last year, like 6-6, 7-5. Again, probably going to be around that because this is Pitt, so I can't get your hopes up too much. But I could very well see like 8-4 or 9-3 from this team next year if Eli can play like he did the first half, O line stays healthy, and these guys really make an impact on the O line. That's the big thing. Is I was saying this in our preseason podcast for Pitt football, like. It's all going to come down to how healthy the O line is and how healthy Eli is. Because the reality is, once you get into those second and third stringers on the offensive line, then they don't have as much like experience together, stuff like that. That's a big reason why last year 2023 was so bad, was because we had so many O line injuries. And the reality is that happened again this year. Guys go down and the wheels fall off. I, the reality is, I think it comes down to how healthy do we stay. That's how good we're going to be, even with these new portals acquisitions.
Yeah, and for me, I would say it definitely raises my hopes a little bit to see that we lost 6 games in a row at the end of the season, and we were still able to get a decent transfer portal. I wouldn't say decent, I would say a good transfer portal. And this is what I said. So just to comment on what's his name, Jaden Moore. If you're like I said this about Damian Dunn, if you can get a player from the #1 team in the country that got playing time, you probably got a pretty good player.
He didn't get much playing time, unfortunately, but he's still coming from there.
He got some though. He did get some. So maybe not much, but he got some. So he was at least he at least saw the field. But yeah, I mean, I think the #1 factor, and I think Fish touched on this, is Eli Holstein's development. I think that's going to truly be the measure of how successful we are this season. Are we going to get the Eli Holstein from the first half of last year, or are we going to get the Eli Holstein from the second half of last year? And I think, yeah, the O-line is a big part of that too. Are these transfers going to be good? Are we going to stay healthy? Those are the big questions. But I think Eli Holstein's development will be the X factor as to whether we are a 6-6 team or a 9-3, 10-2 team.
Yeah, for sure. I think it raised my hopes. I think we really solved a lot of our problems from last season. We still really need to get a couple more players, but I think we kind of went over what players kind of stand out for all of us. What I'm still looking at, I still think we need a running back to be with Desmond Reed. Derek Davis has just really shown nothing. Like, we need a true, like, bruising back who could offset Desmond Reed, because Reed's a fantastic running back, but he shouldn't be playing all these snaps like he did last year. He's not that big of a guy.
I will
And another,
say, I sorry to interject,
no,
Dewey,
you're
but
good.
I think from the bowl game, what we saw out of Jules Goff was really promising. He's a very similar back to Reed, though, so we might need
Yeah,
someone that's more of a goal line variety. But at the same time, he could definitely spell Reed in
for
times where he
sure.
needs it.
I still think we need a true bruising back, like a much better version of Daniel Carter, basically. Like,
That's fair,
we
yeah.
need like a Quadri Allison, someone like a big guy who could really offset Reed. And I still think we need help at linebacker. Jordan Bass is a really big loss to me. Like, Lewis and Biles are great. Lovelace was okay he was pretty good last year, but we need more depth there. And I think the biggest need out of the portal is cornerback. We got crushed at cornerback in the portal with Gandy and Crumpley leaving. All we have is Battle and Tamir Lynam and the transfer of Rashawn Murray from Cal U, but you really can't trust a D2 guy, really. So we really need cornerback. So I still think we're going to get those. I mean, it's only January, so I think they're going to address all three of those. I mean, the coaching staff knows more than us, so I bet we will. So the last question I'm going to pose for the podcast is, these next few weeks, what do you want to see out of these two programs the next couple weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there isn't too much that we can really see other than maybe more portal acquisitions. It would be nice to, bolster the depth at those positions of need, but at the same time, I don't really think I'm not expecting much out of much Pitt football news right now. So as long as nothing catastrophic happens or we have no major injuries for the next couple weeks, I'm good with that. And then as far as Pitt basketball is concerned, you just need to start winning games again. Like, Syracuse is a perfect opportunity to bounce back after this losing streak's been catastrophic. The reality is we were like a 5-6 seed safely in the tournament. Really good wins against West Virginia, Ohio State, some not competitive losses, but at the same time, like, the losses to Mississippi State and Duke weren't bad, and the fact that we had them like on our schedule is a lot better than recent years where we play Tarleton State or whatever. So the reality is the last couple of games that we've lost, it's just been complete worst case scenario at where we are now. But the good news is we still are in position to at least be on the right side of the bubble. So this game against Syracuse, I was gonna go, but it's only like a 4-hour drive from Boston. But I'm pretty disenfranchised about Pitt basketball right now, so I'm not going to anymore. Also, my car probably wouldn't be able to make it the whole way because it's super old. I'm just rambling now, but we just need to get this win, right? Is what I'm trying to say. We need to get this win, and then from there are some other really big games coming up. I don't think we play a bad team other than UVA in like the next couple of weeks after that Syracuse game. So we still have a ton of opportunities. The ACC, right, was supposed to be this horrible conference, and it's not very good. But the reality is there are a lot of quad one opportunities still left on the schedule. Quad two opportunities. UNC on the road is going to be one of those. SMU on the road is going to be one of those. Wake on the road is going to be one of those. Still a lot of really good opportunities out there. We have to start winning games.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, Fish. Like you said with Pitt football, yeah, hopefully we see. I think what I want to see is maybe get a few transfer portal additions to address those needs that Dewey was talking about. Maybe get that bruising running back, get depth at cornerback. That's very important. That's something that I'm glad you mentioned because that is going to be very important. That's something that did stand out to me when I was looking through that list. And what was the other thing you said? Linebacker. Yeah, I think I really like our linebackers, but I think it doesn't hurt to add that depth. Hopefully we just see that over the next few weeks. But yeah, I mean, if we don't see too much yet, then I'm not gonna hit the panic button. But I think the main thing is Pitt basketball. Looking at the schedule here, all right, so you lose 4 in a row. Your margin of error is now pretty small. Like, they dug this hole for themselves. And you got to beat Syracuse. I think you got to beat North Carolina at home. Wake on the road, UNC on the road, SMU on the road. I feel like you got to win. You have to win at least one. You might have to win 2, honestly. Just because of losing 4 in a row like this. You might have to win 2 of those. Then you have Miami, Syracuse, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech. You better win all of those. Honestly, I think the margin for error, you got to win 10 out of 13. Like, I think you got to win 10 out of 13. You're 3-4 now. You got to win 13 ACC games. This conference still is nowhere close to the SEC. So you can't mess around. You got to win like 12, at least 12, maybe 13 or 14 games to really solidify yourself as a tournament team and leave no doubt. We left doubt last year, and we're leaving doubt now. And guess what? Last year we didn't make it. So if we do the same thing this year, we might not make it again. So you got to win. You got to win like at least at the very bare minimum 12 games, ideally 13 or more. So that starts with going, okay, I guess at least 9-4, ideally 10-3 or better.
Yeah, you brought up a great point, Tone. We really have kind of dug ourselves in a hole because, like, will we get respected if we go 11-9 in the ACC, 10-10? I don't think so. Like, we have to start winning now. So, yeah, I agree. Pitt football, it was a funny question I posed. Hey, man, the national championships tonight. Hey, maybe teams will start focusing on the transfer portal again. But, yeah, we really need to address cornerback, like, right now. So, I guarantee they are. So, yes, I just want to see us fill those holes. Cornerback, running back, linebacker. So I think we will. I think Narduzzi there'll be a day where Narduzzi gets like 5 or 6 commits out of nowhere. He always gets them in bunches. So yes, we still really need to lock in those needs. And for Pitt basketball, at this point, we just came looking into the future. I think it would just benefit this team so much if we just get one win in the win column. Just see one get in the left column. We just got to see a win right now. Just what it looks to actually win a 40-minute game. I think we just got to go game to game at this point. I think I said it already 3 times, it just will be so important just to get a win on Saturday at Syracuse to get our confidence up again so we can go in to this big stretch against UNC and Wake with just get a win. Just get a dang win at this point. But you are right, Tone, that we really dug ourselves a hole. We definitely got to go on a run right now. But at this point, just go game to game. You guys going to beat Syracuse like we have been. Last year we got swept by them, so we should have some angry taste in our mouth. So we just got to focus on Saturday, win that game, and move forward from there. So a lot has happened in Pitt sports. Hopefully next time we come on, Pitt basketball's back. So thank you two so much for coming on. It was a blast.